Familiar tape.
Yes.
Just realise it's nowhere I can hop. What good dignity.
So I don't like it.
Okay. Any other little thing that I could do while I'm at it? Yes.
Morning.
Could you look at my daughter getting another store over there?
Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Okay, Alan. It's an Ashkenazi sign.
No. Don't read anything.
All right, well, thank you for braving the post-Yom Kippur fatigue and delightful weather. So we're on page 117, 117. And if you have any koyach at all, please stand.
Never mind, we'll change that. I thought we were doing fourth day.
May the fourth be with
Change that. This is different now.
Et ratzon, Elohim barov chastecha, ameni ve'emet, yishecha. Please be seated. We thank you, O God, for this new day, for morning rains and evening star, for flowering of tree, flowing of tide, for life-giving sun, and cooling breezes, for the changing seasons, for the cycle of growth and decay, life and death. We awake and behold a new day. Oh God, renew us into life. Teach us to recognize your presence in creation. Grateful for your gifts, may we dedicate all our powers to your service. We praise you, eternal God, sovereign of the universe, for eyes to see.
We praise you, eternal God, sovereign of the universe, for clothes to wear.
We praise you, eternal God, sovereign of the universe, for the joy of freedom.
We praise you, eternal God, sovereign of the universe, for the power to rise.
We praise you, eternal God, sovereign of the universe, for providing for all our needs.
We praise you, eternal God, sovereign of the universe, for daily renewing our strength.
We praise you, eternal God, sovereign of the universe, for the blessing of sleep and the privilege of waking to a new day. Baruch Shamar B'Haya Ha'olam Baruch Hu. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam. Hamagolal b'fi amo. Meshubach mefar bilshon. Chasidav avadav. Bishvachot v'smirot. V'gadel chavanam lichacham al-kenu. Yachid chay al-olamim. Baruch Atah Adonai melech megolal b'tishvachot. With the coming of day and night, I will enter the covenant of God. And when evening and morning depart, I will recite God's decrees. God Most High, you are my righteousness. You teach me goodness. You are the fountain of knowledge, the dwelling place of holiness, summit of glory. Eternal might and majesty are yours. I will choose whatever you teach me, gladly accepting your judgments. As soon as I move my hands and feet, I will praise your name. when I go out, when I come in, when I lie down, and when I rise up. When I rest in my bed, I will sing your praise, and in the company of my friends, I will praise you with the words of my mouth. Yishabach Shimcha Admokenu, Ha'el HaMelech HaKadol HaKadosh B'Shamayim U'Ba'aretz, Ki Lecha Na'er Adonai Eloheinu V'Elohei Avotenu, She'ush V'chai, Halel V'Zimra, Brachot HaHoda'ot, Ne'ata Ha'olam, Baruch
Atah Adonai, Habocher B'Shirei Zimra.
And let's turn over to 135, 135. Baruchu et Adonai HaMorach.
Baruch Adonai HaMorach le'olam va'ed.
Please be seated. We praise you, eternal Lord, our God, sovereign of the universe, maker of light and creator of darkness, author of peace and creator of all things. In your mercy you give light to the earth and all who live on it. And in your goodness you renew creation continually, day by day. How manifold are your works, O God. With wisdom have you made them all. The world is full of your creations. Your handiwork proclaims your praise. The radiant stars bear witness to your glory. We praise you, O God, creator of light. Ahava Rabbah Ahavtanu Adonai Eloheinu. Chemla Gadol Avite Rachel Mota Aleinu. Avinu Malkeinu. Va'avor Avotenu Shabbachu V'cha. V'tlamdeim Chukei Chayim. Ken Techonenu V'tlamdeinu. V'ten Blivenu Lavinu L'haskil. L'shmoa L'lod U'lamed. L'shmor V'la'asot. V'chayem Ekol Divrei Toratecha. V'ahava. V'ha'erenenu but lost my place. V'ha'erenenu b'toratecha. V'nabek libenu b'mitzvotecha. Yached levabeinu lahava u'yira et shemecha. Kivanu b'charta. Yachedecha lahava. Baruch atah Adonai. Habocher ba'amo Yisrael. And let us stand. Shema Yisrael. Adonai Eloheinu. Adonai Echad.
Shema
Asher Anochi Mitzavacha Hayom Ha'alevavecha V'shinantam Levanecha V'dibar Tavam V'shivtecha V'beitecha V'vlektecha V'derech V'shalchbecha Uv'kamecha V'shartam Lobot Aliyadecha V'hayu L'totakot Beinenecha V'tatam L'Otos Beitecha V'visharecha. Let's be seated. Yashar, Kayam Vitobia Fehadavar Mazeh, Alenu Leolam Va'el, the Met Sha'atahu Adonai Eloheinu Velohei Avotenu, Malkeinu Melech Avotenu, Vitzreinu Tzur Yishimotenu, Bodenu Matzilenu Meolam Hushamecha, Ein Elohim Zulatecha, Metatahu Rishon, Hatahu Acharo, Umi Baladecha, Ein Moshiach. Mimitzrayim ge'altanu Adonai Eloheinu, V'beit Abadim Keditanu, Moshe Miriamu B'nei Yisrael, L'cha'anu Shira B'simcha Rabba, V'amru song the redeemed sang to your name at the shore of the sea. With one accord they gave thanks and proclaimed your sovereignty. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor Hanorah, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'konei Hakol, V'zocher Chasdei Avot V'Imahot, Umevi Kulah Livnei B'neihem, Ma'an Shmo B'Yahava, Melech Ozer Moshiach Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham V'Ezrat Sarah, Atah Yibor Le'olam Adonai, V'chayim Eitim Atah Rav L'Hoshia, Mashiv HaRuach U'Morid HaGeshem, Mazriach HaShemesh U'Morid HaTal, V'chalkel Chayim B'Chesed, V'chayim Eitim B'Rachamim Rabim, Somech Noflim Profech Olim, Umatir Asurim, Umkayem Emunato L'Shenei Afar, Mi Chamocha Bal Givorot, Umi Domera, Elech Meinitum Chayim Matzmiach Yeshua, V'ne'amalata L'Chayot Metim, Baruch Atah Adonai, Mechayeh Ametim. We sanctify your name on earth as in the prophet's vision. The hosts of heaven sing your praise above, for so it is written.
Kadosh, Kadosh, Kadosh Adonai Tzevaot, Melech kol haaretz kevodo.
Kevodo Malei Olam.
Baruch kavod Adonai, Mimekomo.
Mimkomecha Malkeinu Tofia. V'tim loch aleinu ki mechakim anachnu lach.
Yimloch Adonai Le'olam, Elohai Tzion, Edor Hador, Alleluia.
From generation to generation we will make known your greatness. To the end of time we will proclaim your holiness. Your praise, O our God, shall never depart from our lips. We praise you, eternal one, holy God. Let's be seated. You inspired our ancestors to hallow this day for your service. When upon its coming we pause to contemplate our life, we learn in you that we do not live by bread alone, but also by the spiritual nourishment we receive when we open ourselves to your influence. We thank you for the Sabbath day and for the opportunity it offers to enhance the quality of our lives. We thank you for its joy, for its peace. Now worship, help us to take into our hearts its message of holiness. Consecrate all our days by devotion to what is true, beautiful, and good.
Yismechu b'malchutcha, Yismechu b'malchutcha, Shomrei Shabbat v'korei Melech, Amekadshesheni, Kulam Yisve'u v'yitachnu mitzvotecha,
Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu, Ritzei v'imnu chatenu, Kachenu b'mitzvotecha, V'ten chalkenu b'toratecha, Sabeinu metuvecha, V'samchenu b'shuatecha, V'tahir libeinu lovtecha be'emet, V'chanchilenu Adonai Eloheinu, V'hava uvratzon Shabbat kodshecha, V'yanuchu v'ach Yisrael l'kodshesh lecha, Baruch atah Adonai. Eternal God, be gracious to your people Israel, and in your love accept their prayers. May our worship now and always be accepted in your sight. We praise you, O God, who alone be worshipped and reverenced. We give thanks that you, eternal one, our God, as you were the God of our ancestors. You, the rock of our life, the power that shields us in every age. We thank and praise you for our lives which are in your command, for our souls which are in your keeping, for the signs of your presence we encounter every day, and for your wondrous gifts at all times, morning, noon, and night. We praise your God, source of goodness, to whom our thanks are due. Sim shalom, tova uvracha, chen v'chesed v'rachamim, aleinu v'yol kol Yisrael amecha, baruchenu avinu, kulanu ka'echad ba'or panecha, ki ba'or panecha natata lanu Adonai Eloheinu, Torat chayim, v'habat chesed, u'tzedakah u'vracha v'rachamim v'chayim v'shalom. וטוב בעיניך לברך את עמך ישראל, וכל העמים, בכל עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. ברוך אתה אדוני, עושה שלום. Turn over to page 481 for our Torah service. There is none like you, eternal one among the God's people worship, and there are no deeds like yours. Your sovereignty is everlasting. Your reign endures from age to age. Eternal one, you reign, you have reigned, you will reign forever. Eternal God, give strength to your people. Eternal God, bless your people with peace.
En kamo kama Elohim Adonai, en Mosaica, Malchuteka, Malchut kol olamim, umemshateka b'kol olamot. Adonai melech, Adonai malach, Adonai yimloch ve'olam ha'ed. Adonai oz lamo yitzed. Adonai yirva'eh ve'chamo ha'shalom.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Hear, O Israel, the Eternal One is our God. The Eternal God is one.
Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Gadol Shemo.
Alul Adonai Yitin Roma Mashma Yachdav. Let us magnify the Eternal One. Together, let us exalt God's name.
Lecha Adonai HaGedolah, veHaGedolah, veHaTiferet, veHaNetzach, veHa'od, veHanetzach, veHa'od. Yifrach Hashamayim, Yifrach ha'aretz. Lecha Adonai HaMamlech,
Okay, please be seated, everybody. Well, as they say, we're very close to the pole position. That's a joke. Right, so Deuteronomy chapter 32, Ha'azinu, and I, as my normal practice, will read the beginning and the end. So the very beginning of the Shirah, the poem that Moses recites to the people. So verses 1 to 4, and you'll find that on 1159 in the Sanchino, and 330 in the JPSA. And then I'm going to skip up to verse 44 and read 44 to 52, which is just, so the beginning of the Sidra and the end. And the end is when Moses actually goes up to Mount Nebo, and he dies. And then all we have left, really, is the very, very end, Zot HaBracha, which we read the last bit for Simchat Torah. So we're nearly there. And the last bit, very much through Moses' eyes, his perspective. He knows that people are going to go astray. He knows they're going to get punished. And he knows that hopefully, ultimately, they will be redeemed. And so he bears witness against them, as it were, in advance. So this builds, this tradition builds on the thinking that the Torah was conceived not only at Mount Sinai, or, well, let's say was revealed to Moses on Mount Sinai, and all of these things in advance of when they happened, but the Torah was actually composed by God before the world was even created. So that's part of the very, let's say, the fundamental belief of revelation that believing very traditional Jews would hold. And so it's about the powers of language and God, and it's quite mystical. So we come to the end. Baruch hu et Adonai HaMvorach. Baruch Adonai HaMvorach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torah. Baruch atah Adonai noten ha'Torah. Give ear, O heavens, let me speak. That's 325, not 330. Give ear, O heavens, let me speak. Let the earth hear the words I utter. May my discourse come down as the rain, my speech distill as the dew. Like showers on young growth, like droplets on the grass. For the name of the Lord I proclaim, give glory to our God, the rock. His deeds are perfect. Yea, all his ways are just. Faithful God never falls, true and upright is he. And then on 329. Moses came together with Hosea, son of Nun, and recited all the words of this poem in the hearing of the people. And when Moses finished reciting all these words to Israel, he said to them, "Take to heart all the words which I have warned you this day, and join them upon your children, that they may observe faithfully all the terms of this teaching. For this is not a trifling thing for you, it is your very life. Through it you shall long endure in the land that you are to possess upon crossing the Jordan." That very day the Lord spoke to Moses, "Ascend these heights of Avarim to Mount Nebo, which is in the land of Moab facing Jericho, and view the land of Canaan, which I am giving the Israelites as their holding. You shall die on the mountain that you are about to ascend, and shall be gathered to your kin, as your brother Aaron died on Mount Hor and was gathered to his kin. For you both broke faith with me among the Israelite people, at the waters of Meribah Kadesh in the wilderness of Sin, by failing to uphold my sanctity among the Israelite people. You may view the land from a distance, but you shall not enter it, the land I'm giving to the Israelite people. Ha'azinu hashamayim ba'adavera, batishma haaretz imrefi, ya'arof kamatar likchi, tizal katal imrati, kishirim alei desha, v'chirbivim alei esim, kishem Adonai ekra, habu godel Eloheinu, atzur tamim pa'olo, ki kol drachav mishpat, Elimina ve'ein abel, tzaddik ve'yashar hu. Hayavo Moshe ve'yidaber et kol divrei hashira hazot ba'oznei ha'am hu. Hoshea ben Nun. Ve'yichal Moshe ledaber et kol hadivarim ha'ela el kol Yisrael. Ve'yomer alehem simu levavechem v'chol hadivarim asher anuchi me'id bachem. Hayom asher titzaun et b'neichem lishmor la'asot et kol divrei haTorah hazot ki lo davar reik hu mikem ki hu chayechem uvadavar hazeh ta'arichu yamim al ha'adama asher atem ovrim et ha'yarden shama l'rishpa v'yidaber Adonai el Moshe be'etzem hayom hazeh lemor Alei el har havarim hazeh, har nivo, asher be'eretz Moav, asher al pnei Yericho, ur'ei et eretz Canaan, asher ani noten livnei Yisrael b'achuzah, umut bahar haz, asher ata oleh shama, v'he'asef el amecha, asher met Aharon achicha, v'hor ha'har v'ye'asef el amar, Al asher ma'altem bi, betoch b'nei Yisrael, b'mei merivat kadesh midbar tzim, al asher lo kidashtem oti betoch b'nei Yisrael, ki mi neged tireh et haaretz, v'shama lo tavo el haaretz, asher ani noten b'nei Yisrael. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lani Torah emet v'chayei olam natan b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Baruch shenatan Torah le'amo Yisrael
Please be seated, everybody.
The Haftorah portion today is from the second book of Samuel, chapter 22. It's also a poem. This one, instead of Moses saying a poem to the children of Israel, is David singing a poem of thanks to God for rescuing him from all his enemies. It's on page 506 of the JPSA Tanakh. I didn't look for it in the...
1117.
Oh, thank you very much. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher בחר בנביאים טובים, ורצה בדבריהם הנאמרים באמת. ברוך אתה אדוני, הבוחר בתורה, ומשה עבדו, וישראל עמו, ונביאי האמת והצדק. David addressed the words of this song to the Lord, after the Lord had saved him from the hands of all his enemies and from the hands of Saul. He said, O Lord, my crag, my fastness, my deliverer, O God, the rock wherein I take shelter, my shield, my mighty champion, my fortress and refuge, my Saviour, you who rescue me from violence. All praise, I called on the Lord, and I was delivered from my enemies. For the breakers of death encompassed me, the torrents of Belial terrified me, the snares of Sheol encircled me, the toils of death engulfed me. In my anguish I called on the Lord, cried out to my God. In his abode he heard my voice, my cry entered his ears. Then the earth rocked and quaked, the foundations of heaven shook, rocked by his indignation. Smoke went up from his nostrils, from his mouth came devouring fire. Live coals blazed forth from him. He bent the sky and came down, thick cloud beneath his feet. He mounted a cherub and flew. He was seen on the wings of the wind. He made pavilions of darkness about him, dripping clouds, huge thunderheads. In the brilliance before him blazed fiery coals. The Lord thundered forth from heaven. The Most High sent forth his voice. He let loose bolts and scattered them, lightning and put them to rout. The bed of the sea was exposed. The foundations of the world were laid bare by the mighty roaring of the Lord, at the blast of the breath of his nostrils. He reached down from on high. He took me, drew me out of the mighty waters. He rescued me from my enemy so strong, from foes too mighty for me. They attacked me on my day of calamity, but the Lord was my stay. He brought me out to freedom. He rescued me because he was pleased with me. The Lord rewarded me according to my merit. He requited the cleanness of my hands. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, tzur kol haolamim, tzaddik b'chol hadorot, ha'el ha'ne'eman, ha'omer v'osei, ha'medaber u'mekayem, shekol dvarav emet v'tzedek. Al ha'torah v'al ha'avodah, v'al ha'nevi'im v'al yom ha'shabbat hazeh, שנתת לנו אדוני אלוהינו, לקדושה ולמנוחה, לכבוד ולתפארת. על הכל אדוני אלוהינו, אנחנו מודים לך ומברכים אותך. יתברך שמך בפי כל חי, תמיד לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת. It's fine, thank you. Please come to the rescue. Thank you.
So we're on page 484. And do we have a volunteer to read the prayer for the leaders of our people? Sangha, you've just been volunteered.
Okay. Eternal God, whose dominion embraces the universe, we ask your blessing for our Sovereign Lady Queen Elizabeth and all the royal family, for those who govern our country and all who influence the quality of its national life. Make them conscious of their responsibility and teach them to exercise it in accordance with your will. May we all help to fashion in this country a society that excels in freedom and justice, tolerance and compassion. so that it may be a force for righteousness and peace in the life of humanity.
And for the second paragraph, the prayer for the community, John.
Eternal God, as you have blessed our ancestors and generation past, bless now this congregation, its leaders and its members, and all who enter this synagogue to meet, to study, and to pray. Comfort the sorrowing hearts among us, and heals those in anxiety of pain. May we all find here community and friendship, the renewal of purpose, of hope, a deeper understanding of our heritage, and a sense of your abiding presence. Bless all congregations, all the powers of Israel throughout the world. Let those who live under oppressive rule soon be free, and may we all united to witness to your truth and do your will.
And we hope that, Stephen, we hope your mom's doing a bit better. Is it right to eat a little more?
But still in the hospital.
Yeah.
A few more days, I think.
Okay, Ridge Ward, Walk for General.
That's the one.
That's the one. The Concord Lounge. Yeah. Phyllis suffered a bad fall, and hopefully she'll be on the mend quite soon. Is there anybody else we should be thinking of this morning? George, would you like to read the prayer for the state of Israel?
Lord God, our rock and redeemer, grant blessing to the state of Israel, created to fulfill an age-old dream and to be a haven for the oppressed. Inspire its leaders and citizens with faithfulness to the aims of its founders, to develop the land for the benefit of all its inhabitants, and to implement the prophetic ideals of liberty and justice. May we live in harmony with one another and in peace with our neighbours, and cause to come true once more the ancient vision that out of Zion shall go forth Torah, and the word of God from Jerusalem.
Hallelujah, Shem Adonai, Kines Gav Shemo Levado. Let us praise the Eternal One, whose name alone is exalted. To help us read responsively on page 488. Maureen, yes?
God's teaching is perfect,
reviving the soul.
God's word is unfailing,
making life simple.
God's precepts are right,
delighting the mind.
God's commandments are clear,
enlightening the eyes.
God's doctrine is pure,
enduring forever.
God's guidance is true,
altogether just.
Behold, a good doctrine has been given you. Do not forsake it. It is a tree of life to those who hold it fast, and all who cling to it find happiness. Its ways are ways of pleasantness, and all its paths are peace. So, what does a rabbi do immediately after Yom Kippur? Is this one starts reading. And I want to share something about this book, which has just come out a day or two ago. My favorite writer, my favorite contemporary writer, Ta-Nehisi Coates. I've spoke about him before. His incredible book of a few years ago called Between the World and Me, which is about his message as a concerned father to his young son. And why would this be such a concern? Is about a young man growing up black in America. Not an easy thing to be doing nowadays, and indeed for most all of the history of America. So Ta-Nehisi Coates is in his early 40s, and this is his first novel. And it's a novel about slavery from the point of view of the enslaved. And it got me thinking about the Torah. And in Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy, I can't recall anything told from the voice of the ordinary slave or servant. It's all about Moses and the machers. There's the riffraff, they're referred to collectively. And there's one or two others that get in trouble for doing various things. But as far as the story of the day-to-day routine spoken from the voice of an individual, I can't think of anything. It's astounding. And Ta-Nehisi Coates just precedes the actual novel itself. There's a very brief quote from Frederick Douglass. He says, Frederick Douglass was a great abolitionist, a great writer, and a genius of a thinker. And I believe he spent a little bit of time over here as well. He said, "My part has been to tell the story of the slave. The story of the master never wanted for narrators." So we don't have so much in the Torah about Pharaoh, but we have more about him than we do about the day-to-day hoi polloi struggling away in Egypt and crossing the Sinai. So it starts with two men crashing a horse-drawn carriage into the Goose River in mid-1800s Virginia. One man drowns, and the other, the slave, finds himself enveloped in a blue mist and then jolted awake, miles away, dazed and confused and unharmed. Now, this is the really fascinating bit. The slave's name is Hiram Walker. And his father was the master of the plantation, and he raped Hiram's mother, who was an incredible dancer. Young Hiram, has supernatural powers. He has a photographic memory, and so he's promoted from doing horribly hard work in the fields to being a domestic in the mansion. And he amazes the slave owners and their guests with his powers of total memory.
Was he literate?
No, not at that moment. And he also has supernatural powers, and that allows him to escape drowning. And so it's about his life. He grows up, and he gets involved in freeing slaves, and the story goes on. And so much of it is about separation of his mother from him, and children from parents, and so on and so forth. The slaves collectively are known as the tasked, and the masters, the aristocrats, are called the quality. The quality and the tasked. And his gift of conduction This is his supernatural power. He has the ability to move through space completely unseen and unnoticed, and also to move through time. So absolutely fascinating. And he uses his, as it were, conductive powers to help a vast abolitionist network. And he, in a sense, becomes a kind of a Moses. And the book is absolutely incredible. And I just want to share a page or two with you to hopefully seduce you into getting it. It is so beautifully written. And I can't think of another writer today who writes in such a beautiful way. The sentences, the structure, the choice of vocab. It's incredible. So I'm going to read just a little bit and then leave you in great suspense. Yeah, so this is the start of something. In our Torah reading, we just came close to ending something. Now we're starting something. Yeah? And I could only have seen her there on the stone bridge, a dancer wreathed in ghostly blue, because that was the way they would have taken her back when I was young, back when the Virginia earth was still red as brick and red with life. And though there were other bridges spanning the River Goose, they would have bound her and brought her across this one, because this was the bridge that fed into the turnpike, that twisted its way through the green hills and down the valley before bending in one direction, and that direction was south. That was a one-sentence paragraph. And this is beyond Philip Roth. I had always avoided that bridge, for it was stained with the remembrance of the mothers, uncles, and cousins gone Natchez way. Natchez in Mississippi. But knowing how now the awesome powers of memory, how it can open a blue door from one world to another, how it can move us from mountains to meadows, from green woods to fields caked in snow, knowing now that memory can fold the land like cloth, and knowing, too, how I had pushed my memory of her into the down there of my mind, how I forgot but did not forget, I know that this story, this conduction, had to begin there on that fantastic bridge between the land of the living and the land of the lost. So he's talking about his mother. He was 7 or 8 when she was torn away from him. And she was patting Juba on the bridge, an earthen jar on her head. A great mist rising from the river below, nipping at her bare heels, which pounded the cobblestones, causing her necklace of shells to shake. The earthen jar did not move. It seemed almost a part of her, so that no matter her high knees, no matter her dips and bends, her splaying arms, the jar stayed fixed on her head like a crown. And seeing this incredible feat, I knew that the woman patting Juba, wreathed in ghostly blue, was my mother. No one else saw her. Not Maynard, who was then in the back of the New Millennium chase. Not the fancy girl who held enwrapped with her wiles. And most strange, not the horse, though I had been told that horses had a nose for things that stray out from other worlds and stumble into ours. Maynard was his half-brother, the other son of the master of the plantation, who was just a buffoon.
So was he the other son by the white wife or by another slave?
White wife. And Hiram tutors his half-brother, and his half-brother's hopeless, whereas Hiram is just this total genius. Not only I saw her from the driver's seat of the chase, she was just as they described her, just as they said she'd been in the olden days, when she would leap into a circle of all my people. Aunt Emma, young P, Jonas, and Uncle John, and they would clap, pound their chest, and slap their knees, urging her on in double time, and she would stomp the dirt floor hard, as if crushing a crawling thing under her heel, and bend at the hips and bow, then twist and wind her bent knees in union with her hands, the earthen jar still on her head. My mother was the best dancer at Lochlas. That is what they told me. And I remembered this because she gifted me with none of it. But more I remembered because it was dancing that brought her to the attention of my father, and thus it brought me to be. And more than that, I remembered because I remembered everything it seemed, except her. It was autumn now, the season when the races came south. That afternoon, Maynard had scolded on a long-shot thoroughbred and thought this might at last win the esteem of Virginia quality he sought. And when he made the circuit round the great town square, leaning back, way back in the chase and grinning large, the men of society turned their backs to him and puffed on their cigars. There were no salutes. He was what he would always be, Maynard the goof, Maynard the lame, Maynard the fool, the rotten apple had fallen many miles from the tree. He fumed and had me drive to the old house at the edge of our town, Starfall, where he purchased himself a night with a fancy and had the bright notion to bring her back to the big house at Lochlas, and most faithfully, in a sudden bout of shame, insisted on leaving the back way out of town down Dumb Silk Road until it connected to that old turnpike which led us back to the bank of the River Goose. A cold, steady rain fell as I drove, the water dripping down from the brim of my hat, puddling on my trousers. I could hear Maynard in the back with all his games, putting his carnal boasts upon the fancy. I was pushing the horse as hard as I could because all I wanted to do was to be home and free of Maynard's voice, though I could never in this life be free of him. Maynard, who held my chain. Maynard, my brother, who was made my master. And I was trying all I could to not hear, searching for distraction, memories of corn shucking, or young games of blind man's bluff. What I remember is how those distractions never came. But instead there was a sudden silence, erasing not just Maynard's voice, but all the small sounds of the world around. And now, peering into the pigeonhole of my mind, what I found were remembrances of the lost. Men holding strong on watch night, and women taking their last tour of the apple orchards. Spinsters remanding their own gardens to others. Old codgers cursing the great house of Lochlas. Legions of the lost brought across that baleful bridge. Legions embodied in my dancing mother. I yanked at the reins, but it was too late. We barreled right through, and what happened next shook forever my sense of cosmic order. But I was there and saw it happen, and have since seen a great many things that expose the ends of our knowledge and how much more lies beyond it. Beautifully written, huh? So what happens is they go over the bridge, and there is this, we call it a miracle, and he is transported through space, and he lives, and the others don't. And that's how the story begins. An introduction to his oppression and his supernatural powers. So it's called The Water Dancer. And if any of you are in book clubs, it's pretty incredible.
And
So,
the story is reality
no,
or is fake?
it's fiction, but I would say so much of the descriptions, the history that is told in this story is through his own huge amount of research. You know? A very talented academic as well. So maybe the question is, we come to the Torah, are these specific Torah stories real or not? That's not the question. The question is, what do these stories show us? They're running around. So what are these stories? What are the lessons? What are the ethics in these stories? Yeah? And whether it's fiction, quote unquote, or history, quote unquote, and all the gray matter there, that doesn't matter. Against the dry, mitnagdim, dry Talmudist aristos. Yes, analogous to the Christian pietists rebelling against the Dominicans in their power. And then the revolution became that which it dethroned. So let's turn over to page 520 and let's rise for the Evangeline. Aleinu l'shabeach la'adon hakol, latet gedula v'yotzer bereshit, asher sam chalkenu liyached et shemo, v'gorleinu l'hamlich malchuto. Moshav Yekaro b'shamayim ima'al, u'shchinat uzo b'gofhei menachem. Hu Eloheinu ein od, emet malkeinu efes ulato, kakatu b'torato, v'yadata hayom v'hashevota el levavecha, keranai hu Elohim b'shamayim ima'al, v'aretz mitachas. Trusting in you, eternal God, we hope soon to behold the glory of your might, when false gods will vanish from our hearts and idolatry cease forever. Help us to perfect the world by bringing it under your unchallenged rule. And all who invoke your name relinquish evil and turn to you alone. May all who dwell on earth come to know that to you every knee must bend and every tongue swear loyalty. We let them humble themselves, and to your glorious name let them give honor. The soul submit to your sovereign rule. May that time come soon and last forever. For ultimate sovereignty is yours, and to all eternity will reign in glory, as it is written, the Eternal One shall reign forever. departed are with us. They inspire us to live as in their higher moments they themselves sought to live. We remember our loved ones now, for they remain in our hearts. They are a continual blessing. And on this Shabbat we remember Leah Baker, Raymond Benson, Alan Bliss, Theo Kahn, Manfred Kay, Louis Phillip, Ronald Phillips, and Hans Spielmann. And would anyone like to mention the name of a friend or loved one?
Well, my brother-in-law, it's his yahrzeit about this time, Sidney Lubert.
Sidney Lubert, yes. Okay. And let us read Kaddish together. Yitgadal Yitkadosh Shemei Rabbah, Ba'allah Digrach Yirtei Yomik Ma'utei, L'chayechon Yomechon, L'chayechol Beit Yisrael, B'galah Bisman Kari V'Yiru Amen. Yehei Shmei Rabbah Mevorach Le'olam U'Lamei L'Maya, Yitbarach Yishtabach Yitpar V'Turlam V'Yitnaseh, Yitadar Yitalev Yitadal Shemei Kudusham V'Yichu,
Ve'ela Minkom V'Chaseh V'Shirata, V'Shupata Ne'Lemata,
Damian Bama B'Yiru Amen. Yehei Shlama Rabbah Min Shemaya, V'Chayim Aleinu B'Yom Kol Yisrael B'Yiru Amen. Oseh Shalom B'Roma, U'Yaseh Shalom, Aleinu B'Yom Kol Yisrael, B'Yom Kol B'nei Adam B'Yiru Amen. Please be seated. Well, George, we embarrassed you plenty on Wednesday, on your actual birthday on Yom Kippur, singing, first time I've ever enjoyed singing Happy Birthday at the beginning of the Yom Kippur service. But that's not all. I wanted to offer a blessing, or to ask for God's blessing rather, on you and Mary and your family, for good health. Now relax. Okay. And the occasion of your 90th birthday. And hope you enjoy strength and health and
Not enough strength to hold up the tallest bed.
that's all right. Got a smaller one. So, George, Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha, Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'yichuneka, Yisad Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. May God bless you and keep you. May God look kindly upon you and be gracious to you. May God reach out to you in tenderness and give you peace.
Amen.
I'd shake your hand, but I'm coming down with a cold. I don't want to ruin your birthday weekend. So I hope you guys are doing something nice this evening.
Well, we've got a kiddush afterwards. Everybody is very welcome to join us in the kiddush downstairs.
Okay. I have no idea how long we need to wait for them, but yeah. So, Adonai Ro'i, not exactly a happy birthday song, but what page
I
is
just
it?
requested it and who am I to...
Yeah.
What page is it? I don't know.
Yeah,
Anyone know what page it's on?
I'll find it.
221 it says my music.
Okay.
221.
Okay. 221. Shalom. In the rain, don't go driving horse and carriage too quickly over rickety bridges. Unless you have supernatural powers.
May I just say thank you for introducing us to what promises to be a very good read. I want to take the name down.
Okay.
And to let you, well not let you know, remind you that tomorrow we celebrate the Festival of Sukkot. The two synagogues, Liberal and Reform, will join together downstairs, and the service, I believe, begins at 6. And in the morning, on Monday morning, at 10:30. That's right. And this coming Friday is, it's the time of year when it's one service after another. So if you don't turn up for one, you're forgiven for being serviced out. I do understand. But next Friday, there's again a joint service between the two synagogues up here in our sanctuary. And then there's Shabbat. That's it.
Frank,
And then we go on to Torah.
Sorry?
before you put the book away, I want to take a photo.
Oh, okay.
Yes, I want to write
Okay.
down your name. So thank you all very much. And there will be Kiddush downstairs in honour of George's night.
Sounds wonderful.
That's fabulous. Just completely in another world when you're reading it.
Throw this frame. See it. This is for
Okay, lovely. Thank you very much.
Oh, right, okay. I said I would see you again once a week.
No worries, he's going to make it to our
You probably need
So they can try. Thanks, Lobo.
Thanks,
Yeah, that's possible. That's for you. Oh, I'll say it's African.
It's the outside side. It doesn't have words, crossword puzzles. Do we have TVs in that?
Hello. What brings you here? He's wondering. Sorry, I just took me a moment to.
Wait, was that you?
Yeah. Were you here? Well, oh, that's what's strange about the show. Oh, I would have done more outlandish music than I had yesterday.
And a moment of inattention. Anyway, you got
Yeah, it's strange that you can only see. Oh,
Do
Daniel.
you know everybody?
Yes.
Hello. Adina, hi. Lindsay. Hello. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you.
He's one. Come with me. I'll just put these back. Follow me.
Are we able to stand up?
Any idea when you're coming to us?
This week will be the last week for the June. I started. It's a very big exterior and interior. Yesterday I removed all the wallpaper from the first room, which is quite smaller, but will be the next room, which is double size. Okay, it's a lounge, big lounge. And then,
So you think the week after next you'll come to us?
not this week.
No, yeah.
We've got I want.
Yeah, hold the banister when you go downstairs. Don't do like
How you doing? I see you. How long ago was that?
end of August, third week of August.
You know that could have healed in 7 days once the hospital fixed it?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I just gave him my last card. You must be aware that I was the one who wrote the 5 stone for the images. I doubt he eats on tropical food. And when Wayne Rooney broke his toe, he threw it. That was really important sports dance doctor.
Yeah, no, that's fine. But
7 days. 7
not
days.
7 weeks.
Not 7 weeks. You can do 2 things. One of 2, because people don't believe this. You do one of 2 things. The herbs good. You can either go to the health food shop and buy. You think you can remember if I tell you? Go to the health food shop. I do a drink called Bonate. It's made from pure plants. Yeah? And it's a nice drink. Look at Rainforest Cuisines on the website. Or you could go to the health shop and get these 2 herbs. The reason I'm telling you 2 herbs because one covers the nerves.
But that was fast.
Yeah, not pop. It's one word. Sorry, I've run out of cards. Just
Yeah,
go to the
because
website.
they kept having quite a little pain for about 8 hours.
When you have that, it's pure calcium.
So, don't delay
One of the things I see so much in people suffer, the body needs collagen, it needs more protein,
well, it was in the
and
next
it needs actually a lot more sun. Vitamin D3 and magnesium. Now, you can also get magnesium through using the Epsom salt. Yes, you can, if there's high blood pressure, you could put it in your tea each morning, yeah, and that will help to bring that back. Now, the Bonate, as you start to drink it, you just have a half cup. You have it as a cup of tea, or you can have it cold. Preferably this time of year, your kidneys like warmth. So keep your body warm, the kidneys warm. So a warm drink is good. Yes?
Okay.
No.
Yeah.
You can order that online. Yeah? But the herbs, if you want to keep the herbs and make your own tea, you get look for bonnet.
Yes, but I am.
You all know in this country there is bonnet. If you can't get it, call me and I'll supply it. And I usually blend it with other things. No, that's cool. But the reason I'm telling you this is that when your fracture heals, it will not heal 100%. There will always be airline. And for years that will niggle you.
So this is just finished downstairs.
I just actually give to someone who's fractured her ribs for years and it's still not healed and she's going on holiday and she's asked. But go to the health food shop, you can't go, and get the bone. Make a cup of tea, just a teaspoon. And you have that, yeah, daily. But let me put it this way: if you're going to do that,
someone complained on
let's
this.
keep the bone. So you need to have hot water.
I complain when they do
And gently
The wrong kids,
within 7 days. They will pass it on within 3 to 7 days.
Thank you.
They sold out on your
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. What was it? I missed you all at Young People. I was downstairs.
Come with us to the kitchen.
I want to.
Hannah,
I need
Hannah,
to
sorry,
know.
the window is still
Yes,
open.
I'll sort those out in a minute.
Excellent.
Let's try and kind of close that window.
Tomorrow?
It will be helpful.
Is it tomorrow? You're saying you need in the evening? Oh yeah.
a pie. It's got like this big gap in the middle. No, in the English too. You don't say a pie. A pie.
Yeah, that's how I always do it, yeah. I didn't even know there was another way of doing it. I never.
No, but the phrase is pie. So you learn it.
Yeah, but as long as you don't read, it's still in one phrase.
Sure.
Like, that's kind of in opera that you can have long phrases as long as you put the breath about place. It's fine, right?
10 a.m. service.
No, at 10:30 on Monday.
There's tons of that. So there's There's a musical, old musical Christmas song. Goes,
Oh, you know that job at Belfast? I didn't realise it was for the youth choir until it was like 5 and then I was like,
I mean, like, yeah, also, like...
Did I tell you about the time where the cantor was off because of his personal life? And they made me teach liturgy, and I was like, right, I can't sing in tune, and I don't know your liturgy.
Yeah.
How is this going to work?
Sorry, that was good. I missed all the Yom Kippur, but I was here.
Want me to give you the name of the book?
To be honest,
Oh, yeah, because I teach it. I was here, and you were all...
he's a very good
I did
Yeah, we know him, actually.
He yelled at me in front of my class once.
Yeah.
Then sent me an email.
They should
And
have more
apologised if I was offended. Apologised because I'd taken it that way.
Oh.
And now he thinks that he's my best friend in the whole world.
I wouldn't look at Bellside, because like me and Ben, well, I've never had an argument with him, but like we're just like, we're just opposite people. Like in the sense of like we do very similar things, but we're just personality terms. We're just
Water
like
dancer.
opposite.
Is that what it's called?
Ta-Nehisi Coates.
He's not
He's in his 40s. He's young. Young
Must have done
American.
an awful lot of research.
But you must read Between the World and Me. About growing up as poor and black in Baltimore. What he went through and his father and his mother.
I said it wasn't my...
Just devastating.
I teach a lot of things.
No, I mean, we had that conversation. I ended up doing it
because I still do my charity
and Julia's wedding, simply because I basically said the same thing. I was like, it's not my thing. And then they were bringing some money on. They were like, oh, can you do it? And I was like, I don't know. All right.
Cost more money.
Because I'm not like a regular wedding band with got equipment and we regularly do it, but I just said, for them, like, they didn't have anything, so I sent them and actually it was good.
So they can
So like, I now know what I can do, but that was like, that was the first time I'd done like a dancing set. It was for theirs. Yes. I'm, okay.
And then they will get their money with their family, feeding their family, and to go on to further education of people in school. So that's the easy way, rather than me traveling backwards and forwards.
Great.
Yeah.
Go get some grub.
I am. I'm just having a quick look at this thing here. That's still growing quite good. Okay. Let me go to the back screen. We go to the appointments. See now then. What's the back screen?
Frank, would you mind switching off the lights? Please?
Yeah, I'll deal with all that.
Okay, see you
Don't
soon.
worry. Okay,
Bye-bye.
take care, Hannah.
I'll do my best.
Frank, you coming down?
No, go ahead.
You're not?
No, it's
Oh, right.
don't worry about me.